It's hump day. Welcome back to the Pack Chat, everyone. So excited to chat with you all. But today's episode is a little bit different as we are going to have two amazing humans, Sydney and Henry. And of course, their dogs are going to make guest appearances.
It's going to be a good one. We love having guests, and we met them in Baja about a year ago for the first time. We've been following their journey online for quite a while now. They do amazing things together. Not only do they live and travel in their van, but their van is the catalyst to their journeys of rescuing dogs in Puerto Rico, the United States, Mexico, and various countries. They do incredible work. They are super inspiring, and together they are quite the duo.
They've raised $700,000, and all of that is 100% donated to rescuing dogs.
Today, we're diving into the courageous work that these two do, talking about the process of dog rescue, the emotional toll it can take, and the nuances of the work behind the scenes, as well as working in other countries.
And thank you to Sydney and Henry's community for joining us today. We can't wait to talk to all of you.
Sydney and Henry are the creators, the founders, the faces, and they walk the walk of KeepingFinn, a community-based rescue campaign which makes an incredible impact on dogs.
With that, welcome, Henry and Sydney.
The two of you are such a duo. Like, truly, like, you've come together, and what you do together is so amazing. It's incredible. It's courageous. And we've just been like diving in, following your journey as everyone else is. And behind the scenes, like everything you do, like I love, first of all, that you share so much of the raw experience, because like you've said, it's not always just butterflies and rainbows and beautiful rescues. Like, you go through really hard experiences as well. And so, like, what are some of those like really tough behind the scene moments now that you do it together? Like, you can both kind of say a little bit about like your experiences and the not so easy sides of it all.
Henry definitely influenced me to get more into rescue in general. And so I would rather you just answer first, only because like I had already rescued Pearl when we started dating, and I had kind of done some fostering and stuff before, but Henry was really like, this is something that's really important to me. I do it every month. This is how it goes down. And so, you know, naturally I kind of just followed his lead, and now it definitely feels like it's a huge pillar of our lives, and of course of our relationship as well.
Yeah. I think when it comes to like the difficult parts of animal rescue, it gets easier as like the more you see it, right? You kind of get desensitized to it, which is kind of sad, right? I mean, that's like just a reality of animal rescue in general, is that and that's why people burn out, right? It's like not so different than like than like nursing, right? Where you just see all these cases come in and you do your best and you can't help everybody. And some dogs pass away, right? And then it's on to the next and on to the next. So there's like a fatigue element to it. But the more you do it, the easier it is to like, I don't like desensitize, kind of create some separation.
Well, I think also like see the full picture, you know?
Yeah, right. And that's another part of it, which is that from a storytelling perspective, we try not to end the story at like, oh, look at this broken dog, like on the side of the road, like it looks like a hyena, right? It's like, so from our perspective, we try to answer like, we try to tell the story to the end, right? And the end story is why we do rescue to begin with, right? The end is, look at this dog today. Look at this dog, the happy dog, like it just needed some love, family, some care, with a family unit, right? So like a kid now has his dog, right? And when you're able to tell that full picture, that's what people really respond to, is like that, like that's the element of rescue that answers like why we all do it.
Yeah, it makes people feel things.
Yeah, I think like fostering is probably the most emotionally hard thing for me. I will say he's right that it gets easier in the sense that the first time we went down to Mexico and I was like seeing the dogs that we were seeing, like, of course you feel bad for like a cute little rescue dog who comes up to your van and is like, man, feed me. You're like, oh my God, so sad. This dog needs a home. But then you go to where the rescues know you need to go and you see a dog who was, kind of a trigger warning here, but like hit by a car, like disturbingly malnourished. And like the first time that we went and I saw things like that, I was like, oh my God. I mean, I was sick to my stomach every day. I didn't know how to process that emotionally or mentally. You leave the day, you may go to your van. Sometimes we get an Airbnb when we're in Mexico, like just during that week. So we have a place that's like comfortable and safe to kind of come back to. And you have to just realize was that traumatic? What did we just see? What did we just experience, like, on our behalf? Because we need to be taking care of ourselves as well. So while that's like very, like, can be emotionally disturbing and very hard, I do think you get a little bit, that's what I was saying about the full picture. Now when we see a dog like that, my brain instantly goes to, oh my gosh, I can't wait to see this dog in 6 months. It is going to be the transformation of a lifetime. And so that's something you do learn along the way. The hardest part now, and which also does get easier, but it's different per dog, is the fostering, because we both do, but I'm just speaking for myself, get so tied to this little dog. And we know this dog, we have a foster right now named Winnie, and we know Winnie better than anyone on the planet. We know what she likes, what she doesn't like, how she responds to certain people or certain things. And so that's really hard to just sit there, and you physically have to hand over this dog that you feel very protective over. And that we always try and treat it like a celebration. We always cry, but then at the end, we, like, once we've passed it along to the family, that same night we make it a point to go out to dinner, and we usually, like, have a couple glasses of wine or a beer or something, cry at the dinner, and then we wake up the next day. Like, the family will send us pictures or something the next day, and they always are the same way. It always goes the same thing. They're like, she was a little confused at first, but she's already laying in the bed and she's loving life and blah blah. And then you're like, you can, like, take this big sigh of relief, like, okay, we did it again, that was good, and now you march forward. And that's why we also take breaks in between each foster, is because it is difficult, but it's also important. I mean, fostering saves lives, so.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's also, like, they're, like, my favorite dogs to follow on Instagram. Like, I'll always, like, be like, are you guys going to create an Instagram for this dog? Right? I just love seeing them in their, like, new element, right? They have they moved, they got a backyard now. Oh, that's awesome. Like, especially, you see where these dogs came from.
Yeah.
And you're just,
you see
like,
their day one, and it's not good.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you're meeting the dog on the worst day of their life, right?
Wow.
Literally the worst day. And then you see them, and now this dog's, like,
eating pancakes,
eating avocado toast on the beach in
well,
California.
avocados are toxic.
Yeah, avocados are toxic. But
Don't feed your dog avocados.
But that's the image.
Or
Oh
at
my
Starbucks.
God.
I saw you guys brought
exactly.
the Starbucks. It's so cute. The first
Just
one.
living the most luxurious
There
life.
you go. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. We'll go
The
Starbucks.
puppuccinos.
That's a beautiful thing. Honestly, and hearing you two both talk about it, your faces literally light up. And
You're
yeah, like,
passionate. You're
yeah.
so passionate. It's incredible. I feel so grateful to be sitting in front of you two. You're just such a duo, honestly.
yeah.
How
Thank you.
long,
Yeah.
how many years have you been rescuing together, and how many years have you been doing this on your own, Henry?
I've been doing this for almost 4 years now, 3.5, 4 years. I guess it all started with Finn, who is my dog currently, and he was a foster fail from Puerto Rico. So, and he's 5 years old now. I got him when he was 3 months. So I guess it technically started then. But really, like, he was my inspiration to, like, sort of create more of a rescue community, rescue platform. So that's about 3.5 years ago, 3.5, 4 years ago. And we've raised over $700,000 since then.
Wow.
All donated to animal rescue organizations around the country. And I think another part of the inspiration for me was that, like, being on the road, right? Like, being on the road can feel kind of like a selfish endeavor. Like, as it goes on and on and on, it's like, oh, what am I going to do today? Like, waterfall or sunset? Like, let's bring the camera out. It's all kind of like
Self-indulgent.
Yeah, very self-indulgent, right? And so, Finn came into my life and totally changed my world, right? Like, all of a sudden, like, people stopped viewing me as just some dude in a van, and they saw, like, the humanity in me, right? Like, it made me, the Greenie voice comes out, right? It's like my sense of humor, like all that kind of stuff. So, when you're a stranger on the road by yourself, a dog can really do that and open up your world. And so I was just so inspired by my own story, by Finn coming into my life, that I was just like, I have to, like, use this platform that Finn has sort of provided me to, like, just give back and make this van life journey feel less like self-indulgent, I guess. And add some
Give
meaning.
some purpose.
Add some meaning
Purpose,
to what I'm doing. And so the van life as a platform provided a very unique way to do that, right? I mean, how many people can just travel around and rescue animals and go to Mexico, go to Puerto Rico, and try to, and use van life as, like, a storytelling arc.
Yes.
Is a really cool way to do that. So
I just really like that you asked yourself, like, the question why. because I feel like a lot of us just like, you just keep doing the same thing. And then you start to ask yourself these questions. And then you're like, you got your purpose from Finn. And then you did even more with that. You're like, what can I do with this platform? And I think that's a beautiful thing.
And it's amazing how something as small as, meeting Finn was something as big as it is and as beautiful as it is and what it's turned into. And it's amazing. It's truly amazing that, you're doing this in your own backyard. You're going down to Mexico and you do this yearly. The two of you go to Puerto Rico yearly, don't you?
Yeah, multiple times a year.
It's amazing.
Well, so we go to Puerto Rico once a year. Really, Henry goes at least once a year. Every December makes like a point to go to Puerto Rico, back where Finn was like rescued and stuff, and work with the rescue that he came from. But we do go to Mexico several times a year just because it's more accessible van-wise, and we can kind of like treat it like a van life journey, and then also do the rescue stuff as well. So that's why we get to go there, and it's so close to San Diego, which is where we get to spend a lot of our winters because it's cold everywhere else. And so, but Puerto Rico once a year for sure.
Yeah, and San Diego has Dog Beach.
The thing that van life adds to like the whole experience, at least early on for me, was like being away from home, being away from family and friends, like just gave me the space to try something unique and potentially fail, right? Just like go for it. Because the whole idea started with like, okay, well, I could raise money every month and like use Patreon. So all of that $700,000 has been raised on Patreon, and we donate 100% of it, right? And so I had this idea that like we could use Patreon as like a fundraising platform, and I'll like do this traveling thing. And because I lived in a van, all I had to do was hit publish, and I knew that I could figure it out after that, right? And so van life really was that sort of a catalyst, like really was the vehicle to let me try something. And obviously it's worked, and it's really been a very fulfilling and rewarding experience for myself and for Sydney.
Yeah, I can imagine. So then, Sydney, when did you come into it all? How many years?
Oh, and congrats on your engagement. We haven't said that to Henry yet.
Oh yeah. I actually want to get into that though.
Sorry.
We can just get into that, but I want to know if you've been doing it for 3.5 years. When you guys started dating? Like how did that happen? Were you just like, I'm gonna come in, or like did you like how did that combo go?
Yeah, like how did you first invite Sydney?
Yeah, okay. Well, so growing up, we just like my family dogs were rescued dogs, not even because we were aware of rescue or anything. It was like honestly the easiest, cheapest way to get like a family dog. And so that was like my experience, was getting on petfinder.com and like going to a shelter, and we got like a few of our family dogs that way. And so I did have like a little bit of background of just how it works, I guess, a little bit. And then on the road, I rescued Pearl, and Pearl was actually a foster fail as well. I fostered her for like 24 hours, and she was obsessed with me. They had told me that she was at the shelter for so long, and she hated everyone. And after 24 hours, I was like, this dog is obsessed with me. I must take her. I must keep her forever. And so I ended up adopting her, I think, the next day. And someone that I dated actually like several years ago now, right when I had gotten on the road, was into rescue as well, which is so funny. Like I have a kink, I guess, for animal rescue. Like, it's a weird thing of mine. That was just a total coincidence. And so he had just kind of like introduced me to it. And so I got to see it from like, he kind of kept me in the back seat, I guess. And so I got to see it from afar, and I was definitely interested. And I'm an animal person. I've fallen in love with every dog I've ever met. And so when I started dating Henry, there was a conversation within the first, I think, few days, if not the first week, that Henry was like, this is a part of my life. You know this. When we were actually friends before we started dating, we were on the phone for hours several times talking about the Patreon idea, what that might look like, what platform he should use. So I kind of was involved very little even at the very start of it. Fast forward, we started dating, and within the first week, he was like, I do travel kind of according to my rescue schedule, like what rescue I want to be working with each month. And so that is something that you would have to be okay with, whether you come or don't. That is how my life has to kind of function right now. And obviously, I was like, so down, and I loved the idea of all of it, and I think I danced around it at the beginning. I was always like, that's Henry's thing, and I still try and give him the most of the credit, because it really is like, that's just the credit where it's due. But he was always like, no, you're in this. Like, this is what we do. We do this. We're doing this now. Like, you're my partner in this. And so I was always, and I still am, very grateful that, like, he always speaks in a we, and he also, including Finn, of course, he always is like, we are the ones who do this. But it's like a family thing now. And so when we started dating, and I think we knew it was a very serious relationship from the day we started dating, he was like, this is what we do. So you rescue animals now. And I was like, dope.
I love that.
It is definitely a partnership when it comes to the rescue stuff. I mean, obviously my Instagram account is more about animal rescue and stuff. So that's why, that's why a lot of it comes from my account, but it is definitely, we're always doing it together.
Yeah.
In fact, she's the one who probably rescues more animals than I do. I'm normally the one behind the camera.
Yeah. I'm always out there just snatching dogs.
I know. I actually always see you doing it, and I'm like, wow, like, it's so impressive.
It's so cool to see in the moment too, like all the footage coming through of like, from all the rescues and like, when you're getting them and like the car rides. Like recently, what you had posted,
Bunny.
I think it was Bunny when you were rescuing Bunny.
Crystal was like crying on this couch, like literally.
I mean, I'm sure everyone's crying. Like even like 2 minutes of this conversation, I was like, hold it back, like I mean, you're desensitized, like you said. I'm sure like there's emotional times, like you said, when you are crying, but I mean, I'm sure people are almost always in tears when they're watching your stories.
Yeah.
They're so beautiful and so emotional. But yeah, Bunny was, wow. That was an experience to watch.
Well, and I think when we're watching the videos too, I get more emotional than I probably even do in the moment, because it's really chaotic, and sometimes you're like, we got to get out of here before the owner changes their mind, or we don't even know what's going on, or we're driving really quickly to get the dog because we were notified on Facebook. And it's like, you're like in the heat of the moment. And so then when we're back at the house in Mexico, or it's a week later and Henry's sitting down watching the video and he's showing me the video, like that's when the emotions really set in, and you're like, oh my God, this poor dog, which you do think in the moment, of course, as well, but there's so many other things going on. And so then when you're sitting down and taking a breath, when you're taking a breath and looking at it, you're just like, wow.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point, because that is normally when I start to process like what's going on. Like, for example, when we do the fostering dogs, and when we hand the foster dog over to the new family and I'm like making a video about it, normally I'll like go to my van by myself and I like, I'll just like look through the footage of like, oh my God, we had this dog for so long, and that's where it all sort of comes out. And I think that's why a lot of the times those videos can be more emotional, because it's an emotional release for me personally.
Yeah, true.
Wow.
That would happen.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's so many things that you've just mentioned that I just hadn't thought of. Like, I mean, being in it and experiencing
or like
it, and
getting the call,
like
and
getting
having
the
to go,
calls,
and the owner changing their mind, because I can definitely see that happening.
Of course, and being in a completely foreign country. Like, I don't know how. Like, you probably speak fantastic Spanish now, but I mean, like, I don't know. Like, do you speak Spanish?
No. He always says I can speak Spanish.
She's good at languages. She's good.
I do, like, my brain definitely processes language very well. Like, I do pick up languages probably easier than like some people, but I'm not fluent. I would never claim to be fluent, and I don't want anyone to come up to me after they listen to this and just start like speaking Spanish and then be like, she lied.
She's really good at English too.
I'm so good at English.
Yeah, you're good.
I'm fluent. I'm definitely fluent.
Better than me.
But I'm definitely conversational. I'm conversational in Spanish, and it's like I have a set of words that I know. Like, a few hundred words, and I can say what I need to say with those words. But as soon as someone starts speaking to me with words I don't know, I'm like, I'm
a little lost. Well, that's impressive. I definitely thought you'd be able to speak Spanish, Henry, with how you roll your greenies word. But
that's more Italian, I feel like.
I don't know languages at all.
I love it every time you say it. I just love it.
Me too. Honestly, I really want it to be like an alarm clock. Like, just imagine that waking you up. Greenie. I can't do it.
I do have a iconic dog voice. People, I got to bring it out more, honestly.
People love the dog voice.
You should. Yeah. Like, those TikToks where like it's like another voice? Like, I feel like you could be one of those voices that people click.
Yeah.
You should do that.
You should do that.
Start putting some out there,
One of those filters,
Imagine you had like a party with all your friends and everyone you could only speak in your dog voice. That would be like so fun.
That would honestly be amazing.
For the rest of the podcast, we're speaking in dog voices, and then everyone signs off. They're like, "Get me out of here." I love it.
Wow. So you're newly engaged. It's new. I say it's new. I know it's been like a few months.
Yeah, it was November, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Why is it May? I know.
Was it May? Wow.
Time flies.
I think there is a shift in the relationship when like we got engaged, because you kind of reframe your mindset of being like, oh wow, this is now solidified. Like, you are my partner for life. I do feel like I started viewing things more as like a not like when we're arguing, less of a, like, opponent wise, like you're just, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're on the same side. And I think I have a better perspective of that. But I wouldn't say it like shifted so much where we came back to the honeymoon phase of being at the beginning of a relationship when like you can do no wrong. Does that make sense? Like, it's,
Yes.
That makes complete sense.
Yeah.
No one's ever said it like that. That's very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. The one thing I would add to that is that, like, I'd say we're past the honeymoon phase in that now we're like, oh shit, now we actually have to get married and like plan that. Like, so we're at that part of the engagement where we're not, well, we have some ideas, like we've agreed on some things, and some things we're like still trying to figure out.
Yeah.
Timing wise, when do we want to do it? Like,
yeah.
We'd love to do it this year, right?
But it's May. I mean, that's what's honestly hard, is that we want to get married this year, and Henry's kind of just like, let's just give everybody a date. And I'm like, yeah, but people send out like a save the date like a year in advance. And I haven't even tried on a dress. It takes months to get a dress, I've heard. And so it's like, can we? I mean, I'd like to. Hopefully we can get married this year. We're definitely, I think, eloping.
You are?
That's not like tea, is it?
I was gonna ask, like, how much can you give? Like, what are these things you're disagreeing on that you are like, I want this, I want that?
Oh, I don't even think it's a disagreement. I think that we've come to what we definitely want and what we're not sure that we want.
Oh, gotcha.
It's a process.
I don't think that
though,
I don't think there's much that we just adamantly disagree on.
Right.
Like, when it comes to the wedding.
Right.
Right. Yeah. Well,
so is eloping
when it comes to everything else, we disagree on pretty much everything else.
Yeah. Well, the question is basically like, we both agree that we want to have a smaller ceremony, right? Something a little bit more intimate and all that, right? But the question is, do we have the party afterwards? Like, that involves all of our friends. And I'm more of the camp of like who's gonna come to just like the party? If it's not the wedding, then it's like you're asking a lot of people to like fly somewhere and do all that stuff, and she thinks that they would anyways. And
do you want to have a massive party?
No, not like a massive party, but we want to have a very, very small ceremony. Basically, only immediate family. Yeah, immediate family, pretty much it. And we both are on the same page of doing that. I guess I just feel badly. I have close friends who won't be at my wedding, and I have a little bit of guilt. And he has friends who wouldn't be there either. And so I just feel bad, and I want them to feel included in something. And so, because we're also like, we didn't do an engagement party. I'm probably not doing a bachelorette, and then we're having a small ceremony. So
I love that.
I know you don't get married for other people, but I've been on the road now for 5 years. The people who are closest to me already feel quite distant from me. And so to not even have them at the wedding is like, now I just feel bad that like, I feel like they would feel not valued and not loved by me. And that bothers me.
Yeah, I feel you. Especially like in this lifestyle, like in everything that you know that you're doing online, living in a van, like those things combined is just like, it is isolating in a way from all your friends and family. Like, you're so busy and you're so far from the people you love, and like you're also always traveling, and it's very isolating from your loved ones.
Then like that one day, yeah,
that
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
but
so maybe we should just have a big wedding.
like a huge
this is what happened. But then we cannot get married this year. This is the we have this conversation like legitimately once a day. We're definitely small wedding, and then 20 minutes later we're like, maybe we should just be having the big wedding.
You guys should flip a coin. That's how we solve all of our problems.
I love that.
To be honest, I feel
together.
like I know what's gonna happen.
We're like,
well, it's
basically flipped a coin to get together.
Right. Well, it's like if you flip the coin and you don't like the answer, then you get the answer anyways.
Correct.
Exactly. So then you're going to know as soon as you flip that. Want to do it right now on the pod?
Just put your wedding in our hands.
I don't have any coins, or I'd flip them, but.
Okay, I'm also drooling over your van right now. Drooling. Like, is that cement? What is that wall? It's textured. It's beautiful. So nice.
This is what's behind me is like, I'm guessing this is white shiplap of some kind. It's definitely nicer than the shiplap I had in my last van though.
It's like finished.
Yeah, it's like really beautifully finished. And then to my left is can I shift this a little bit, or is that gonna mess up some continuity?
Go for it. Show us.
This wall, like right here, is just wallpapered, but it kind of looks like cement or something. It's supposed to be a very durable it's supposed to be a very durable wallpaper. And so, yeah, I mean, to be honest, that wall with the wallpaper, I got really obsessed with like potentially designing a home like a year ago, and I kind of discovered wallpaper for the first time. I was like, nobody does wallpaper. Why is nobody like doing an accent wall? I was like, nobody in a van does like a whole accent wall. And
True.
so then when we ended up going with a van, me getting a new van instead of us getting a house, they did the wallpapered wall first, and there was nothing else in the van, and I looked at it every time I was in San Diego, and I was like, oh my god, I ruined it. That is the ugliest thing I've ever seen in my life. It was just way too much when it's the only thing in here. I was like, that is strong. Like, that is a strong wall. And then once everything started to come together, I am obsessed with it, and it's probably my favorite thing about the van.
It's so beautiful. And like, I mean, your first van was absolutely gorgeous, but from the little tidbits I've seen of this new van, it's stunning, and I can't wait to see the whole thing. No pressure.
Just get on the van tour already. We all want to watch.
Yeah, we are dying to see
I know.
That being said, last time we talked, you didn't have your new van yet. You were like really close to getting it. How does it actually feel to be in that new space? Is it like everything you dreamed of?
It's absolutely everything that I dreamed of. I did not feel aligned. Like, I don't know how woo-woo this really sounds, but I didn't feel super aligned with my old van anymore. Like, it didn't feel like where I was in life. I started in that van when I felt like a beginner and a starting out in this maybe career. I didn't have any hopes of it actually being a career. I was making no money. So there was like nothing. There's no quote unquote luxuries in that van at all. And over the last 5 years, I've built a whole life. I have more dogs now. I have a fiance. I have a job where I actually make money. And so it just didn't, I was like, dude, I don't even have a toilet.
You grew out of it.
Like, why am I feel like I'm doing well, but I
toilet
don't when I
life.
lay I just like when I lay my head down at night, it just doesn't feel like I'm surrounded by an environment that shows me that I'm doing well. Like, I would like to have something better. And
good for
so
you.
now when I wake up in this van every single day, I'm like, what a space. Just
I love that.
What a creative space that
I'm
I get
so
to be
happy
in.
for you.
You deserve that. And I really like
Thank
that you
you.
said that you grew out of it, because I feel like, you just like, it's been 5 years. Like, you change as a human
has
being.
to
Like,
happen.
how can, if you don't change, like, that's probably a problem. So like that you've changed is a good thing. How is that cassette toilet? Because I am like mind blown with how it works. On
The
your
dry
short.
flush, the one I have now,
Yes.
it's so Henry has the exact same toilet now. We both have the same toilet.
Oh,
And
matching.
Toilet bus.
We are big fans of this toilet. It's definitely less environmentally friendly than a compost. Like, your compost, you're just creating compost. But this one,
Sometimes.
you're kind of still going in a bag, and therefore you're creating more waste. But it's just like a fancy bag. And honestly, I did not want to have to. First of all, the Nature's Head is enormous. It's just much taller than this one, and I didn't really have the space in the van. And I feel like I prioritize the environment in other ways. And honestly, I mean, I know I'm going to get, there's always comments when I say things like this, but like, I never claimed to be a perfect environmentalist. Like, that's not a part of my brand or like
Ditto.
I wanted a toilet. I chose the best toilet for me. The one con I think of the toilet is that it is more wasteful. And for that, I am sorry.
Yeah.
I like that you said that. Like, honestly, you're giving the good and the bad, and like, I feel like
And everyone's trying their best out here. I mean, like, no one's. We definitely haven't claimed to be anything like that. So it's like, you
can only do
your
so
best.
much. You can only do so
they
much.
have an
like-
incinerating toilet. It
Right.
burns.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it
Burns
uses
are-
so much electricity. I mean, the amount of electricity is just so wasteful.
Yeah, but they also have a tiny home.
Oh yeah, and they also probably
However,
use solar. So
We went the propane one, so we're not that environmentally friendly either. But it
Ooh.
takes. Yeah, but it's
It's
actually
like 8 small Bic lighters, though. So
Yeah, that's how you know the little Bic lighters.
Yeah.
It's 8 of those.
And
That's what it's like.
I love. I love that we're on the poop talk. Just like it just has to happen. Obviously,
It just has to happen.
we
Yeah.
have to go there.
Okay, also, for anyone that doesn't know, Henry and Sydney live in different vans, but they are together. So this might be confusing. We're talking about 2 toilets, different
Right.
vans.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that because not everyone might know, but majority of people will know. But a lot of people assume that people live together.
yeah, we like to just say that we have a 2-bedroom, 2-bath.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, that's
Ah.
beautiful. I love that. It's actually so true. Do you like park your vans like super close so you can just walk back and forth?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we usually have
It's
our
like a
sliding
mansion.
doors facing in. Yeah, like sliding doors facing in so that the dogs can just kind of go back and forth, and it feels nice, but then he might need to like record a voiceover. I need to go to the bathroom, so we just close the sliding doors. We have our own spaces, open those up a couple hours later, and you're just like,
That's amazing.
Clever.
It's just like
Yeah.
It's a full house.
like when one of us is in the living room, the other one's sometimes in the bedroom. It's like the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We met on the road, right? So when we met, we had 2 different vans, and I feel like van lifers in general, like they really love their freedom and their independence, right? So we had 2 vans. We were both like that in general. So why just give? I mean, because we could afford 2 vans, we figured let's just keep them.
Yeah, you already had them. And then
to be honest, like when we imagine going back to van life, I don't think we'd have 2 vans because that would be really, really nice. But
I'd like a trailer.
Space is like super important. And I don't
pull.
think that we talked about that enough. Like when we were on the road and we were living in one small van for many years. It's like with the 2 dogs. Like
And working.
Yeah. Whoa. Like it's a lot. Like it's nice to have
I think
your
that
own
people
space.
forget that you're also sharing a car. So you can't even go to the grocery store without your partner because you're sharing a vehicle and the house. So you can't go anywhere without the other person. And that's the part that I think would drive me crazy. Like we do spend most of our time like in the same van, or like we sleep in the same van, we hang out in the same van. We always take alone time for sure, but just like having the driving time, or he can stay at the campsite and hold down our campsite so we don't lose it. And then I get to go into town and get groceries and do stuff for the both of us. It's like, that is the dynamic that I can only imagine, honestly, which is, it comes with a great privilege, but still.
Yeah, we didn't have that for so many years until we got the cabin and we got another truck. Because anytime we had to go anywhere, we had to go together. Like, for example, when you were editing sometimes and I would go do groceries, like I would be walking, one-wheeling, or like whatever. But like being able to have a vehicle.
Or I'd be like trying to edit in the back and you'd be driving and I'd be like looking at the timeline, like puking pretty much. And I'd be like, just park the car already. But yeah, because you don't want to stop the edit. But yeah. That's really smart. Maybe if we ever go back to van life, we need 2 vans.
Especially working full time. Yeah. And being, being online and being on your computer constantly. It's a different story.
Yeah. And we also both need to do like several takes sometimes of something. And I just can't, I would not be as natural as I want to be if I knew he was listening to me on my 8th take of the same story. You know what I mean? And so it's like, I like the freedom of just sounding stupid in front of myself so that I can be as natural as I can be every single time instead of being like, oh my God, this is embarrassing.
Right. It's like you're sharing a car, a house, but also an office,
right?
A studio. And when you're doing things that are creative, like it's like when someone's watching you in the room, you know what I mean? It's like maybe you don't reach your full potential, you know?
I can't relate to that enough.
Yeah.
Hey, like, that's so real.
Let's talk about your shorts, Sydney, because they're on fire.
I honestly don't even know what's happening. I don't understand. I don't understand YouTube, but I'm being consistent because it's working.
There you go.
Do you know what's so funny? I was thinking about this morning. Jasmine and I, whenever we're talking about you, we actually never say Sydney. We only exclusively call you by Divine. And imagine you just like remember it as your naming Divine. Like that's such an like.
I've actually almost called you Divine a couple times in this. I'm like, no, Sydney. But I really like it.
People will like start their DMs to me sometimes, or I've even had people come up to me in real life and be like, "Are you Divine?" And I'm like,
yes, I am Divine.
Yes, and my name is Sydney.
Well, I'm like desensitized to the word divine now. I don't ever think of it as its actual meaning. Now it has no meaning. It's just my entity.
You're looking at it.
Well, whoever's watching, go check out Divine on the Road's shorts because they are on fire. I scroll. I love them. Yeah. They're so fun. And same with you, honestly. Keeping Up with Finn on Instagram. Like the way you package your storytelling in a short is just like we talked about. Like it's so emotional. And that's like where you let it all out. But like the start to finish, I like that you said that because it is like the overall, like it's such a good, I don't know, I love it.
Looping back to that, what's your next journey? Where are you going? What's your next rescue?
We haven't completely figured that out yet. I mean, we're going to the Pacific Northwest and we do have some partners up there.
Ooh, when are you going?
So we've already left Southern California. Right now we're in the Alabama hills. So we've already started our journey. And that's what we're doing with Winnie. So Winnie is our foster dog.
I'm going to grab her. She's in here.
Winnie is our 11th Team Finn foster dog. And the foster dogs are just like a really great extension of the rescue story, right? And that's just like, you know, she's a dog from Mexico, and it's sort of like
Winnie.
We get to continue the rescue story and like to completion.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
is Winnie going home now? Is that what you're saying? Or
Or to a
Yeah. We're finding her a family in
Yeah.
the Pacific Northwest.
We
but-
have not found the family yet, so if anyone's listening and wants to apply, applications are open.
Yeah.
We'll leave the link in the
Yes,
description.
we're gonna leave all the links in the
She's
description.
like turning her head. She's like, I'm actually not for adoption.
She's like, I like it here.
I like Greenie Man in Sydney. I'm not leaving. I get Greenies in bed before.
Oh, what a sweetheart! I want to snuggle
That's
her
really
up.
sweet.
And she loves the water. I saw her running in the water.
Does. She does. Wow. Winnie.
So Winnie's from Baja.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's from Ensenada.
Oh,
Aw,
right
yeah.
across the border, pretty much.
Mhm.
Sweetheart. So you're head up to the Pacific Northwest, find Winnie a home, and then any other plans this summer? Are you going to be doing like hanging around up there for a little bit, going hiking, enjoying it?
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Definitely.
I'm on the let's find Winnie a home. Let's just keep her on the pod. Let's just show Winnie's face right
I know.
now.
Well, she's definitely,
Cute
she's just
face
like
closer.
collapsing in my arms right now. She's like, I was not prepared to
Aw.
wake
She-
up from that nap.
Also, she has over 100 applications already, so she's gonna find a home. It's
Yeah.
just
Oh.
everyone wants this dog. It's just like a matter of like showing, oh look, this is a dog that we found outside a grocery store in Mexico, right? And then we call it like the rescue ride, where we road trip it north, and we road trip her north, and now she's like had her first hiking trip, her first time in water, her first tennis ball, her like, you know, we watched this dog go from a really shy, insecure dog to a confident, like outdoor queen at the end of it, who's like ready to like, you know, be part of a family and give and receive affection and all that stuff.
How do you think you give the dogs like all that confidence? Like, how do you do that? Just like with love?
How
or-
many weeks have you been with her? Like, what's the
We've
process?
had her
of that?
for about a week and a half. So that's a good question, and a lot of that is actually our own dogs. So we have like our dogs are very confident and outgoing. So we try to foster dogs that are shy, you know, timid, insecure, because that's one of the gifts that we're able to like give to any of our foster dogs. Is that
Wow.
Is that like confidence and all that?
Yeah,
Well, and,
through your
like,
little pack.
I think they also get really confident, like body wise, instead of having that really timid body language. Because, like, right now in the Alabama hills, which I did want to point out, if anyone's listening, they've never heard of that. It is in California. It's like in kind of central
Oh.
California. People
I
get
thought
really
you were in
confused.
Alabama.
Okay, I'm glad you mentioned that. I had no
Canadian.
idea.
Yeah, it's like in the middle of California. It's just called the Alabama Hills. But there's tons of these huge boulders and like rocks and stuff. And similarly to how it is here, we go on all these different types of landscapes, and they just follow our dogs and us, jumping up these rocks and climbing around and swimming in the water and jumping in and like just being playful with life. And they kind of see that for the first time. Like, a lot of these dogs take life so seriously because their life
Right.
has been very serious. So we get to just bring out this playfulness in them, and they start to play with our dogs, and they see Ella and Finn playing, and they're like, are they fighting? Is this? And then they realize, like, oh my gosh, they're joking. This is fun. They're having fun. Can we play? And so they learn that over like pretty quickly. We're always really impressed that they learn so fast. And so then over, you know, the weeks and the months that we have them, typically it's around 2 to 3 months, I would say. They just become a playful dog who realizes that I'm well fed, I'm well loved, and because of my basic needs are met, life is fun and I can have fun now. And so they just become silly, and they like their real personalities can kind of come through.
Yeah, they're no
Wow.
longer in like the I need to survive every second of the day, right?
Survival
they're like,
mode.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
I
They have
have
their own food bowl. Yeah.
Yeah, and they just like, and they trust you guys to make decisions for them. So they're like, let's go play.
Yeah,
Love that.
exactly.
And it totally makes sense how the dog's personalities and their confidence just like leaks on in. That's just so perfect.
I think that goes back to when you were talking about how you like say we, and that includes Finn too. And it just kind of like circles back to like the whole we. So
yeah,
it
your
is,
whole
like,
pack just
the
like
enti-
bringing them in and
everyone.
being like, we're going to get you through this. Like, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
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 I absolutely
Well,
love
we
that.
always say that Ella and Finn are the real foster parents, and we're just like the humans in the background. But that Ella and Finn are the real foster parents who kind of teach them the way. Because they're always like, no, we walk this way. We go over here. This is what we do. This is how we do this. And so it's like, it's funny to watch our dogs kind of bring them around, and they're always just like, no, come on.
Yeah. Yeah. And our foster dogs really are like sponges. I mean, they just just watch our dogs, and they follow, they observe, and they just absorb all of the information. It's really pretty amazing.
Wow. That is amazing.
So where you're at with right
Yeah.
now, like everything that you're doing, where, like, what does it currently look like? Is there like somewhere you want to be with everything that you're doing?
Right now, I love the simplicity of what we do. We raise money, we donate it, we get to go places and work with whoever we want. We can make decisions
Yeah.
on a whim. So like
It's kind of
if
in
there
your
are
hands.
wildfires, if there are wildfires this summer, we can just like send money there, right? We don't have to like go through the like a whole grant process or like
Right.
do or like consult with like a board or like whatever. And a lot of that has to do with the trust that we have formed with our community, right? The fact that like, you know, we do what we say we're going to do, right?
And 100% of every dollar is donated. I feel like we should plug Team Finn as well.
Right.
Yes,
right,
absolutely.
Team Finn is Team Finn is the so Finn is obviously his dog, and so he named the Patreon Team Finn, and so you can go to patreon.com/KeepingFinn, and every single dollar, 100%, is donated to a rescue every single month or so. Sometimes like we let it build for a month, like for a couple months. That way, when something like a wildfire happens, we can donate a lump sum to save as many dogs or animals in that crisis as possible.
Yeah, we've moved away from doing like a monthly thing, partially because the monthly donation has gotten pretty high, and we don't want to like be forced to be like, all right, well, who are we gonna work? We have to do something this month. Well, we're in the middle of like we're on the Eastern Sierras, like, you know what I mean? So now it's a little bit more project based, where we can like make bigger plans, make bigger donations.
Well, the donations are still raised every month.
Yeah.
But in terms of like where they go, that has kind of become less scheduled.
Yeah.
We are patrons, everyone listening to Team Finn, so I think you all should jump on board as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Just sudden. Yeah.
And-
so everyone.
Well,
should
thank
join.
you. We appreciate
Of course.
you.
That's awesome.
We appreciate every single one of you that signs up too,
Yes.
because it goes so far.
Yeah. We're
Like
gonna-
they said,
Yeah.
100% is donated, and you can literally watch the start to finish.
To
stories
dogs
and-
just like this one.
Oh,
That's Winnie.
That is Winnie.
Yeah.
I love it.
And so where you're doing your donations, you often work with some of these rescue platforms as well, right? Like I remember reading a little bit about like different platforms like out of Puerto Rico and specific places where you'll go work with them directly and be like hands-on with it as well. And that's really cool.
Yeah.
And this like helps you get there, get the dogs back, pay for the treatments. Like what else is that going to cover like on a regular basis? Like those types of things?
Well, we are not experts, so we work with experts so
Right.
that they can guide and treat and do the things they need to do, and we follow their lead.
Watching you
I love
two,
that-
you look
I love
like
that you
experts.
said- yeah, you look like experts. But I
The
love
way
that.
you handle them and the way you get in there, you're just
Yeah.
like, you're so freaking good at what you do. Like it blows our minds every time.
Yeah, but I love that you said that because it's like it's true. It's like
you need
social
a team.
media is super cool because it can help build this, but then
Yeah.
you have like the branches, right? To
Yeah,
go and
yeah.
find the experts that really know. Like, yeah, I mean, you taught me one thing about a leash, like literally that can improve. I forget the percentage now because my brain is not very good at remembering numbers, but like
To reiterate what you're talking about, basically in Mexico, there are a lot of dogs that are used as like security, but they're kept on like 3-foot leashes right outside their house. And so one thing that you can do is like, you know, this dog belongs to someone, so you can't take the dog. The dog's well fed, right? And even if it's upsetting for us Americans to see that and be like, we can't take the dog, we can change this dog's life and whole experience and world by just putting it on like a 10-foot leash. And, you know, those leashes cost like, what, $8 on Amazon. So we just go down there with a bunch of those. And when we see a dog on a short chain, we talk to the owners and we're like, hey, would you mind if we, and they're like, yeah, sure. And then we'll also give them some flea tick medication that'll protect them from ticks for a year as well.
Yeah.
So that's like just one thing that you can do.
Yeah, and there is obviously animal cruelty going on there as there is here, but what Mexico really needs and does not have is just education. A lot of these owners that we talk about, they're like, this, you know, the dog is on this amount, like we would like to increase it to this kind of cable. They're always like, oh, okay, yeah. Like they have questions and they don't totally understand because they don't learn about like in some places their like basic needs are not being met, and they maybe have one dog and then maybe their dog is a female and it gets pregnant and now they have 11 dogs and they can't afford life for themselves, let alone 11 dogs. What are they supposed to do? And then their next door neighbor's dog has the same issue, and so it's like now in one neighborhood you have 100 dogs because they didn't know about spay and neuter. They couldn't have afforded it in the first place. They don't have transportation to get there. I'm speaking in terms of some places. In other places, they do have their basic needs met and there's still a lack of education. But a lot of times that's what we've seen is that it's not a malicious person. It is genuinely someone who doesn't know.
Or doesn't have the resources.
Yeah.
Because
Totally.
Which makes sense.
That's also and that's also something that exists inside the United States as well, right? In like poor, lower income communities, if you're not making a lot of money, like scheduling your dog to get spayed or neutered is going to fall to the bottom of the list in terms of like your priorities for the month or like what you need to do. So that's something one of the things that we can do, when we work with, we've worked with like organizations on Native American reservations, right? And just offering free spay neuter clinics. So, we'll go in there and we'll sponsor an entire clinic for like multiple days. For like 100 dogs. So 100 dogs for free can just come in and get spayed and neutered. Yeah. And so within the animal welfare category, that goes down as prevention, right? Because all those dogs that you see on the street that are unwanted, that are in terrible shape, like that could basically be eradicated if everyone spayed, neutered their pet, right? You wouldn't have unwanted dogs going around. So that's like just one thing you can do to prevent the problem before it starts.
Wow. I'm learning
That's
so much.
a lot of very good information.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And it's also I'll just add to that, it's spay neuter, like the conversation we're having right now is one of the ways that animal welfare is intersectional with like human issues, right? Because a lot of the times with animal rescue, like people they only want to talk about the dogs, they only want to see the dogs, but it's actually very intersectional with human issues like communities, right? Like low income, certain populations and things like that. So you do have to be mindful of that stuff when you're going in there, right? I mean, we're Americans. The American attitude about animals is like they're greater than humans, right? Oh, we don't deserve them.
I was going to say that. We don't deserve dogs.
Right. Well, all that kind of stuff. So, but when you go down to Mexico, it's like they're viewed differently, unfortunately, but still, you still have to like take your blinders off a little bit and understand like the intersectionalities of all these things, right? I mean, these people aren't doing that well themselves, you know what I mean? So you can't just be throwing judgment.
You can't come in hot.
Yeah,
that's why we also work
with
a rescue. Yeah, we work with a rescue in these places. The one that we work with in Baja is called Los Adoptables, and the woman who runs it is Mexican herself. She's a local. She's very neutral in terms of behavior and personality, so she can come into these communities with us where we can kind of tell the story. We have the platforms and the ability to cross the dogs, and once they're in America, they are viewed differently and seen differently. Winnie immediately has 100 applicants where she's been sitting in a shelter in Mexico and did not. But Pris is this, mediator kind of who can talk to the owners, educate, let them know that we're not there to disrupt anything or to judge anything. We're just there because we heard about this dog and we want to help the dog. And so we don't just come in. Henry and I don't speak often. He just kind of gets some clips on his phone, and I stand there and like smile and play with the dogs. That's the roles that we take.
This is very interesting. It's something that you probably had to like learn over time, like how to assert yourself in these situations and be like, just give us enough of yourself and allow other people to help you get to the end goal. And kind of like, I like that you said, like taking your blinders off or whatever, like taking a step back from our reality and our culture that we live in the United States and Canada, and putting yourself in someone else's situation where it's entirely different. That's a full, like that's talent in itself, being able to do that.
It's super easy to act emotional, like when you go into those situations, but to literally like think logically.
Focus on the end goal. Yeah.
And I do want to add though, realistically, there are malicious people, and there are stories like Bunny, who was a dog who was hit by a car long ago. These people that were outside, they claimed the dog. I guess she was technically theirs. They were in really nice tracksuits, holding iPhones, speaking like very just confidently and well, and like they had this attitude and persona about them that was very egocentric, and they were just malicious people, and like they suck, and that is also a reality. So I'm not going to say that it's all about the that. Like,
Yeah.
sometimes you do get emotional, and nobody said anything, but we were able to get Bunny after they did argue a little bit, but they did allow us to take her. We got in the car, and we were all like, F them, F those people, they don't deserve this dog, how dare they? Like, those emotions are real, and they do come out sometimes. It's different for every situation, but that is also the case, and sometimes you can't help but get very angry right after the fact. You have to secure the dog, you know? Like, you secure the bag, you secure the dog, and then you can get angry.
Then you let it loose. You let it go. Yeah.
Wow.
That's hard.
Yeah.
I've just learned so much from you two.
I would be so emotional walking in there.
Yeah.
You know, when it does come to topics that are like intersectional, right? Sometimes it does help to refocus on the dog, because the dog can be a great vehicle to drive those conversations, right? Dogs perform really well on social media. Dogs drive a lot of like emotion, right? Like, people want to help the dog, right? So the dog can also be a great vehicle to like package those kinds of conversations, whereas like my white maleness probably is not, right? Like, so it's just a different way to tell the story.
You like see where
He's
your
woke.
perspective. Yeah, I was going to use that word, and I was like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah,
You're just like very educated.
No, love. Everyone here means it in a very good way. We love a woke king, honestly.
I understand.
Oh,
I understand.
especially,
woke
like-
is obviously woke is like a triggering word these days. I'm not triggered by it. I'm just saying that it's a identity it like plays a big role in storytelling, right? And so like how the story is told, who's telling the story, can affect how people receive the story. So when it comes from, through a dog's, the perspective of a dog, there's a lot of the times a lot more like empathy, a lot more like people are just more engaged with the story. So it's just an interesting perspective that like how you can use storytelling to sort of like get at those intersectional.
I think a better word, instead of saying woke, we should have just said aware. I think the real word is just aware. I appreciate that he's aware of those things.
I mean, like, a lot of people are rescuing dogs right now, like in Baja, and I feel like if they listen to this podcast, I feel like it will really help a lot of people for when they do rescue these dogs, because there is so much that you need to learn and know, and like the resources to know, and it's super important. And
I haven't thought about half of what you're saying. There's so much to what you're doing.
First of all, I do appreciate what you're saying. A lot of this stuff comes through just experience, right? Like, for example, our first time we did a holiday food bank, right? A pet food bank for the holidays. And when we showed up, the organization that we work with, they do it in collaboration with a human food bank, right? That makes sense. The same people who are going to a human food bank also have pets. That's the place to be to hand out free dog food. And when you're there, you realize, oh, you're right. This is a human problem as well, number one. And they probably don't want their pictures taken at the food bank, even if you know what I mean? So like maybe you don't take the pictures of take the pictures of the dog, and you as a storyteller can like share that experience, like my experience of being like, you know what, this is a human thing, like that, and like kind of just like do it through your own experience. So like that's just an example of how you kind of have to be just sensitive to those things. Yeah.
Well, because when we walked into that experience, Henry brought his camera because he always has his camera. So he walked in with his camera on his shoulder. And then, we both kind of looked around and we were like, no, this isn't like a camera moment. Like, these people are here for help. So that's... Yeah. You got to get started and interesting thing.
Gain the experience. Like, I get totally what you're saying. Like, just putting yourself in those situations where you have the opportunity to learn and like feel the room and, pick up these like different tips and things that'll help you get through. I want to know, please tell us in every way possible how we can find you, how our community can find you, how we can support you and follow your journey of rescue.
You can follow me on KeepingFinn. That's KeepingFinn. KeepingFinn on Instagram and TikTok.
Finn with two N's.
Two N's. Yeah. Sorry. With two N's. And if you want to sign up for our Patreon, which is how we raise money for donations, that's patreon.com/keepingfinn.
My social medias, I do primarily Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube Shorts. Don't expect long form, but it's a nice treat when it happens. Those are all Divine on the Road. Divine is spelled Divine. Everybody spells it wrong, but they always look at me funny when I spell it.
Well, for all of you watching, you know where to find them. Follow these two amazing souls on their journeys. And Do you have any last questions to wrap it up?
All I wanted to say was Finn has the softest hair I've ever pat in a dog in my life. That's what I remember.
It's that good food.
Yeah. Oh.
And the greenies.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the greenie.
Love
Eat
it.
that
The greenie.
Yeah.
Let's end it on Greenie.
And
Alrighty?
give all the dogs a pat for us.
Yeah, no, I just want to say I'm grateful that you guys wanted to A, talk to both of us, and B, really like hone in on the rescue stuff because it is super important to us, and van life is so fun to talk about, and like I'm super passionate, so is he. But this is like such a fun change of pace because it's something I think we just don't talk in this kind of medium or this type of platform very often about. So this was like really refreshing, and I feel like it was super nice that you guys find it so interesting and had so many questions.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us.
We're
It's
so
so
happy to have
special.
you.
Yeah. And we are truly just so inspired by you too.
Yeah.
We love following everything you're doing and just thank you for being you. You're totally just the most incredible people. So
And thank you to your
Thank
dogs
you.
for being
Thank
the
you.
foster parents.
yeah. Yeah. They really do a lot. They're the sweetest.
They do.
Give them
Sweet.
big pats.
Yeah. Let's end it on Greenie.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1.
Weenie.
Greenie. We can't say it. It's all
Exactly.
Greenie.
She likes a green.
You must always love the
Oh.
Love the greenie.
She likes the green.
Be the greenie.